faculty members, research scholars, students, and invited guests. On behalf of the Department of Architecture and Planning of Sister Nivedita University, it is my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the two-day National Symposium titled RISE, which stands for Resilient Infrastructure for Sustainable Expansion. This symposium aims to bring together academicians, professionals, policymakers, and industry experts to deliberate on critical dimensions of resilience, sustainability, mobility, and inclusive urban development, issues that are central to our collective futures. And to shed light on the same, we have a diverse panel of speakers who are going to share their experiences and share insights over the next 2 days. May I now request everyone to kindly take their seats as we begin the introductory session for day one. To formally commence the program, I request the respected head of department, Professor Poulami Banerjee Das, to deliver the welcome address. Ma'am, please.
Hello. Thank you, Indranil. Good morning, and a very warm welcome to everyone present here. On behalf of Department of Architecture and Planning, Sister Nivedita University, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the two-day symposium on Resilient Infrastructure for Sustainable Expansion, RISE, being held on 14th and 15th of January 2026. I feel highly honored today to welcome our distinguished chief guest, Dr. Kollan Rudra, Chairman, West Bengal Pollution Control Board. Sir, thank you and welcome to our institution, and thanks for accepting our invitation. We feel blessed. I extend my warm welcome to our Honorable Provici Admin, Mr. Supratim Sen, Registrar Sir Sumanto Basu, Mr. Sumanto Basu, and my Dean, Dr. Mala Mitro. She is the Dean of Science and Technology. And then the HODs from other colleges who have joined us, the faculty members, my faculty members present over here at SNU, and the faculty members who have joined from the colleges, acclaimed colleges across Kolkata, and the students from SNU and outside. You all are warmly welcome to our institution to enjoy this two-day symposium. We are honored to host this symposium at a crucial moment in global and national development, when rapid development, climate change, and infrastructure pressures are redefining how cities must be planned, built, and governed. The theme of RISE is both timely and necessary, as it urges us to rethink infrastructure not merely as physical systems but as instruments of resilience, inclusivity, and sustainability. RISE aims to offer critical discussions and interdisciplinary dialogue on the evolving challenges and opportunities of urbanization in the 21st century. Over the next 2 days, the platform brings together academicians, professionals, policymakers, and students to deliberate on emerging directions in infrastructure planning, technological innovation, and climate-responsive urban growth. The symposium is anchored around 4 sub-themes: climate-conscious design, transit urbanism, inclusive resilience, and universal urbanism. These themes strongly resonate with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, particularly SDG 9 on resilient infrastructure, SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, and SDG 13 on climate action. Through RISE, we seek to bridge global climate commitments with local and regional planning responses, translating vision into actionable strategies. So we have rapporteurs taking notes on for the today's session, and at the end of each session there will be a panel discussion. And with all this, we look forward to for a publication on this symposium. So the rapporteurs are there to take notes for each session, and we look forward to publish it somewhere, and we look forward to take down this learning through our students so that it can be integrated in our academia. So we have among us renowned speakers and distinguished architects, and my heartfelt thanks towards them for accepting our invitation. I would acknowledge the dedicated efforts of the organizing committee, faculty members, and student volunteers who have worked tirelessly to make this symposium possible. I encourage all participants to engage actively, exchange ideas openly, and use this forum to build meaningful collaborations. Let's rise, serve as catalyst for innovation, responsibility, and resilience in shaping sustainable urban future. Once again, I extend a warm welcome to all to RISE 2026 at Sister Nivedita University. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for setting the context of the symposium and warmly welcoming all present. Next, we are going to have the watering of the plant. So in keeping with tradition of honoring nature and sustainability, we now proceed with the watering of the plant ceremony, symbolizing growth, harmony, and collective responsibility. May I respectfully invite our chief guest, Dr. Kollan Rudru, along with all the dignitaries present on the dais, to kindly participate in the ceremony. Big round of applause. Thank you, esteemed dignitaries, for gracing this auspicious beginning. We now have a series of opening remarks from our respected university leadership. So the first dignitary will be, I would like to first invite Dr. Mala Mitru, Dean of School of Science and Technology, to share her opening remarks. Ma'am, please.
A very good morning and a warm welcome to all the dignitaries present here. I'd like to congratulate the Department of Architecture to think about such a symposium, and I wish all success of this one. As our head of the department has already mentioned that they will definitely publish the takeaway from this symposium, the contributions, and will definitely try to incorporate the learning from this symposium in their curriculum. We are now looking forward to such things. I mean, the symposiums not only be limited to the academic community and just be the another seminar where the academicians will just exchange their ideas, but the takeaway will be fruitful only when we can incorporate the meaningful lectures into our curriculum, and our students will definitely get benefited from this kind of sessions. I would request all our dignitaries to visit the exhibition which is already opened yesterday, and it is still there in back. And I would, with these words, I would again welcome all the dignitaries, especially our chief guest, Dr. Kollan Rudro, who is actually my elder brother. Like exactly, I would very humbly and gratefully can remember all the interactions we shared from very past, and this is my really honored privilege to welcome Kollanda in this session. So with these words, I'd like to conclude my lecture and forward to our faculty member.
Thank you, ma'am. A big round of applause. Next, I would like to invite our Honorable Registrar, sir, Mr. Sumanto Bashu. Can you please take the stage, sir?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Professor Rudro. Good to see you after a long time. Thank you for coming. Distinguished guests, Pro-Chancellor, sir, Honorable Pro-Vice-Chancellors, both academics and administration, policymakers, my colleagues, and dear students. I would like to first congratulate my colleagues in the Department of Architecture to come up with this idea to do this symposium on this important topics, sub-things being climate conscious design, transit urbanism, inclusive resilience, and universal urbanism. As we have seen, the cities are growing like everywhere in every country of the world, especially in the developing countries. India is no exception to that. Now, this symposium has been thoughtfully designed to foster dialogue across disciplines and sectors. Over the next 2 days, they will deliberate on emerging directions in infrastructure planning, technological innovation, and climate-responsive urban growth. When cities are expanding at such an unprecedented pace, particularly in India, the need for sustainable, resilient, and inclusive urban development has never been more urgent. I encourage all participants to actively engage, question assumptions, share experiences, and explore collaborative possibilities. Let this symposium be a space where innovative ideas are nurtured, partnerships are forged, and actionable pathways towards sustainable urban futures are envisioned. I wish the symposium every success and look forward to the meaningful discussions and outcomes that will emerge over the next 2 days. Thank you, and wish you all a very productive and inspiring symposium. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your inspiration and support. I would like to next invite our beloved Pro-Chancellor, sir. Sir, a few words would... Just a few words, sir. Okay, so our Honorable Pro-Chancellor, sir, Dr. Dhrubajyoti Chattopadhyay on the stage. Thank you, sir.
Very good morning to everybody. This is a very important and interesting topic. And I always like, yesterday also I mentioned that the topic itself is so attractive and important for all of us. And also the people who are present over here, specifically Professor Kollan Rudro, with whom almost for such a long period of time I worked with, and I got so many guidance and also so many support from Professor Rudro. So there is no reason why I should not talk, but because of the complete choking voice, I actually you have to request all of you. The only thing that when this name Rise itself, I find it so interesting, and I really want, just like our registrar sir mentioned already, to congratulate the Department of Architecture for actually bringing all these particular topics together. Because this particular, I looked at the sub-themes, all these sub-themes are so interconnected as well as so important for looking at how to work out and what to do and what is actually the major thing. Specifically, the transport system, when it looks at the urbanism as well as the other things, that how we have to look at it. Use of this public vehicle, private vehicle, stopping them and getting the more public vehicle to actually communicate. These are something which are the characteristics of the, if you look at the, specifically the Asian developing nations, if you go to Japan, China, everywhere you can see it's a public transport system, everybody is using it. And that's how the communication over there is so important and so actually useful. Now these particular, I'm sure that people who are going to discuss on this, so I like that particular topic when it says a transit actually, and inclusive resilience always is important. And I wanted to talk a lot, but because of my voice and not to give you trouble, I am not speaking, but I am missing that I could not speak. Thank you, everybody. And I know Provincial Administration, Provincial Academic Registrar, Dean Madam, all of you are here, that I feel bad because I love to actually speak. Namaskar. Thank you.
A big round of applause for sir. Thank you, sir, for your inspiring and insightful words. So I would like to ask sir to stay back as we are going to facilitate the chief guest, Dr. Kollan Rudro. And may I respectfully invite our head of department and all the dignitaries present on the dais to come out to the stage and felicitate sir. Big round of applause, everyone. Thank you, respected dignitaries. I would ask Dr. Kollan Rudra to stay back as it's now my privilege to invite our chief guest, Dr. Kollan Rudra, who is the current chairman of the West Bengal Pollution Control Board, to deliver his address. A brief introduction about Dr. Rudra. He remains as an active figure in environmental governance and river science in India. He's a renowned geographer and river specialist specializing in river and water management. He holds a PhD and a DSc from the University of Calcutta and has been an active academician of geography and environmental studies for over 40 years. He has also served as an expert and advisor in many government committees, of being a member and current chairman of the WBPCB, and has played a key role in environmental awareness and sustainable living. Very recently, in June 2025, Dr. Rudra announced an ambitious project to create a forested bioshield along the Jharkhand border to intercept incoming air pollutants. Sir, we are honored to have you with us. Please kindly take the podium. Big round of applause for sir.
Respected Professor Debojyoti Chattopadhyay, my very old friend, and মালা আমাদের আসলে ফ্যামিলি ফ্রেন্ড, সেই জন্য ওকে আলাদা করে অ্যাড্রেস করছি না। আদার ইম্পর্টেন্ট ডিগনিটারিজ প্রেজেন্ট হিয়ার, researchers, teachers, those who have come from other institutions, and my dear students. I'm a little embarrassed because I was just thinking, looking at the theme of this seminar, that resilient infrastructure and sustainable expansion under the threat of climate change. I was thinking what Chairman Pollution Control Board can contribute. But since I had a long teaching career, I can somehow manage to deliver this talk. And time assigned to me is about 30 minutes. Kolkata, let us take the case of Kolkata. Kolkata gradually transformed into a mega city from three sleepy villages, what we call Sutanuti, Kolkata, and Gobindapur, along the bank of the Hooghly River since 1690 or early 18th century. At that point of time, Kolkata was largely a swamp. ঈশ্বর গুপ্ত লিখলেন, রাতে মশা দিনে মাছি, এই নিয়ে কলকাতায় আছি। So waterlogging had always been a serious challenge. But the colonial rulers started to reclaim this. What they do, they excavated some east-flowing canals. You can still see this, like Kestapur Canal, Bagjola Canal, etc. All east-flowing, with an idea of discharging the rainwater as well as wastewater towards the what we nowadays we call East Kolkata wetland. Kolkata initially started to grow along the north-south alignment, along the bank of the Hooghly River, because any bank of the river in the delta is relatively high, what we call natural levee. Along the Strand Road, you can find a elevation of about 6 meters. If you proceed eastward towards this, it is somewhere less than 3 meters. So it has an east-flowing slope. The British engineers used this natural advantage of discharging the wastewater as well as rainwater towards this wetland. Kolkata, incidentally, is a hydrologically subsidized city. I mean that we have Hooghly River along the west to abstract water, whatever water we need for our survival. And we have another river in the east, what we call Kultigang, for discharging the wastewater. But we don't directly discharge the wastewater. Since the colonial rule, when we started to discharge the wastewater towards the East Calcutta wetland, it is the first constructed wetland based on wastewater. And the farmers living thereon, they invented the unique art of how to recycle this wastewater. And what they created a 3-pond system. The wastewater draining into the first pond, they allowed to settle all the solid waste carried by the water for about 2-3 days. Then they take it to the second pond, where they receive the bright sunlight, and after 2-3 days, they take it to the third pond. When it is taken to the third pond, it is absolutely free from pollution. The dissolved oxygen content increases, BOD load decreases, and it is absolutely fine for agricultural uses. This was first researched by my good friend, who is no more, Dhrubajyoti Ghosh. He worked on this, and it was subsequently recognized at Ramsar site. If you go through the basic development plan, first basic development plan of then CMDA, it clearly restricted the eastward expansion of the city, because the wetland is functioning as a kidney of the city. Unfortunately, that was first flouted when we built the Salt Lake City. And subsequently, this new town also grew at the expense of wetland. Since the Eastern Metropolitan Bypass was constructed, if my memory serves me right, since early 1980s, it clearly divided the city into two parts. One is the old city, covering about 206 square kilometers nowadays, and along the east, what we call East Calcutta wetland, it is about 125 square kilometers. But geographical constant is that Kolkata, having an area of about 206 square kilometers, having a population of about 4.5 million, plus about 0.5 million, মানে 5 লক্ষ, floating population coming every day into the city. So, Kolkata, after initially growing north and south, the northern growth gradually stopped near Kollani, because people found it difficult to commute to Kolkata every day from further north. And along the south, it stopped somewhere near Baruipur, Sonarpur area, because they found that groundwater is saline. Further expansion southward was difficult. Then the eastward growth, that is the Salt Lake and New Town, started. Initial growth was north-south. The second phase of growth was eastward, and that created many environmental problems. আমার মনে পড়ছে যখন রাজারহাট নিউ টাউন তৈরি হচ্ছে, কবির সুমন লিখলেন, বাড়ছে শহর বহরে গচরে গিলছে সর্বগ্রাসী, এক ধার থেকে গিলছে শহর যা আছে গেলার মতো, উপকণ্ঠের সবুজ ঘুচিয়ে বাড়ি উঠে গেল কত, কৈখালি আর পাটুলি গিয়েছে বোড়াল পেটে, জমি সদাগর আবাদের জমি খাচ্ছে সমানে চেটে। ফলে কলকাতা টপোগ্রাফি ট্রান্সফর্মড। এটা আমি বাংলা ইংরেজি করতে পারবো না, এটা ইংরেজি হয় না, কিছু কিছু জিনিস যেমন ইংরেজি হয় না, এটা বাংলার নিজস্ব সম্পদ। So what subsequent impact? If you look at these three units of urbanization, Kolkata, Salt Lake, New Town, Kolkata gradually grew with no understanding of the solid waste as well as liquid waste management. The British engineers started to dump the waste on Dhapa, which was subsequently recognized as East Kolkata wetland and a recognized wetland protected under the Act. But these two cities, these two satellite cities, unfortunately, without any scientific landfill site. কি করে এমনটা হলো, কারা এর আর্কিটেক্ট আমি জানি না, কিন্তু সল্ট লেক সিটির জন্য বা নিউ টাউনের জন্য they did not think where the solid waste will go. It was initially dumped on the Mollar Valley. It is also a designated wetland. Then National Green Tribunal intervened. No, we were not allowed to. So now it goes to Dhapa. And Dhapa, from Kolkata, it receives about 4.5 million tons. 4.5 thousand tons every day. When we added the waste of this new town, Bidhannagar, also Kamarhati, and we had the problem at Howrah too, all dumps are going to Dhapa. Altogether, it is about 12,000 tons every day. It is a huge, huge hill we have created thereon. But any scientifically designed landfill site is not yet been built so far. And Dhapa has a legacy dump being about 9 million tons. So challenge of KMC today is how to biomine. Biomining means disintegrating this waste and converting it into resources. That has started. If we gradually look at the environmental challenges of urban expansion, the first challenge, I believe, in Kolkata had been the drainage. Because this is a delta. Delta means a low-lying flat terrain, having an elevation of 6 to 3 meters, but tidal fluctuation in the Hooghly River and that at Kultigang may be 5 meters, 6 meters. So when both the river on peak of the tide, Kolkata is virtually a basin. So drainage pumping is extremely difficult challenge. You can remember 23rd September 2025, what happened in Kolkata. A torrential rainfall, large part of this city was submerged. I also remember 1999, again in September. There was 300 millimeter rainfall in the city, and the entire city was waterlogged. I can also remember what happened in 1978. In all cases, look, it is in September. So in the history of waterlogging and flood management in Bengal, we call September is Black September. So while you are planning for urban expansion, you must keep in mind that a city needs a natural reservoir too. City needs how to pump, where to pump, and how to dispose the water. That we grossly failed so far, but KMC is trying their best, but topographically it is a very difficult and challenge. And second issue is that rainfall pattern is this subcontinent is spatially uneven and temporally skewed. Temporally skewed means we have peak rainfall during July, August, September. When the monsoon arrives here during the early part of the June, the land or soil absorbs a part of it. It recharges the groundwater. Gradually it is saturated with the passage of time. By August, groundwater is fully recharged and soil is fully saturated. So whatever rainfall we receive in the late September or early September, it is largely runoff because soil infiltration is not allowed at that point of time. So whatever rainfall we receive, it creates a drainage congestion thereon. So what I was thinking that how to manage this huge, we need to protect this East Calcutta wetland, which is a natural reservoir. Moreover, whatever liquid waste this city generates, this East Calcutta wetland receives about 910 million liters of wastewater every day and recycling that. So this East Calcutta wetland is a waste recovery zone, both solid as well as liquid. Whatever fresh vegetable, fishes we receive in Kolkata is largely from this East Kolkata wetland. So solid waste management is also a serious challenge for the city. So we need to recycle the waste. If you go to Dakshineshwar, you can find at Pramod Nagar, you can find another huge hill where 6 municipalities are dumping their waste. If you go to along the Eastern Metro, you can see the Dhapa, we have in West Bengal about 107 legacy dump sites. So management of this legacy dump is also, but it is believed today that waste is also resource. We need to recycle it. And it can be possible by proper planning. That has also, third important issue is that city must have a fresh air for breathing. In 1990, Government of West India declared a long list of 130 cities, what they call non-attainment city, where air quality is not fit for breathing particularly during winter months. And 6 cities in Bengal was identified as non-attainment city: Kolkata, Howrah, Barakpur, Haldia, Durgapur, Asansol. আসছি না, এটা এয়ার কোয়ালিটির ইম্প্যাক্ট। স্যার আপনার যে থ্রোট ট্রাবলটা হচ্ছে এটাও রিলেটেড টু এয়ার কোয়ালিটি। না বলছি স্যার আপনার যে থ্রোট ট্রাবলটা হচ্ছে ওটাও এয়ার কোয়ালিটি। এভরিবডি ইজ সামহাউ ইম্প্যাক্টেড। Since I am a river scientist, I started to work on the deltaic river system. But when I joined West Bengal Pollution Control Board, I gradually realized that air quality management is more serious challenge, impacting a newborn baby to senior most region of the country, poorest of the poor to richest of the rich. Because you can somehow manage the air quality of this room. Technologies are there. But you are sometimes exposed to the ambient air and you are impacted by that. When I looked at the data, the government of India declared that we find that they identified about 12 pollutants floating in the air of 130 cities, they declared. Out of this, in Bengal, we find 2 pollutants. One is PM10, relatively coarse, and one PM2.5. So we did source apportionment study by National Environmental Engineering Research Institute, also by TERI in 2025. The report they submitted was a little surprising to me. I had an understanding that industries are polluting the city. Maybe transport sector are also polluting the city. But they came forward with a new hypothesis that it is largely the resuspension of dust that pollutes the city. It is largely the domestic fuel, I mean solid fuel, fossil fuel burned by the slum dwellers largely, that pollutes the city. So we started a new program of what we call air quality management. And it is under National Clean Air Program. But it is extremely difficult task because during the complete lockdown, I said by scientists, this is the only opportunity during your lifetime you can observe that when all anthropogenic activities are shut down, what is the air quality of the city? It was a new experience for us. The PM2.5 and PM10 reduced to the tune of about 50%. Remaining 50% remained there. Then we started a new research with the IIT School of Atmospheric Science, IIT Delhi, and they came forward with another hypothesis that this pollution is largely transboundary pollution carried by the northwesterly wind into Bengal. And it is largely resuspended dust. So we started to work in 2 ways. One is we started to reduce the in-situ pollution. We take regulatory action, we take regular sprinkling of the road, we greening of the city as far as possible, and we also took a very optimistic project to creating a bioshield, a green wall along the western border of Bengal. We have started to work since last year. It will take about 5 years to grow so that the air coming from northwest, from Jharkhand and Bihar and UP, a part of it will be intercepted. This is rather an optimistic project, possibly the most unique in the world. Nobody has tried so far. অনেকে চাইনিজ ওয়াল দেখতে যায়, আমার বিশ্বাস একদিন যদি সত্যি এটা গ্রো করে, ইট ইজ ভেরি ডিফিকাল্ট, আই আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড, তাহলে পিপল উইল কাম টু সি Bengal what is green bioshield. So in this climate change scenario, the challenge is becoming extremely difficult. I was working with the century scale climate change in Bengal Delta. What is our experience? The data says that the mean minimum temperature has increased in the century scale by about 1 degree. Maximum temperature has also increased, and the rainfall pattern has drastically changed. There is a tendency of delayed monsoon. It is expected in this part of the country between 8th to 11th June, but it sometimes comes in the late June and even sometimes in the early July. And the terminal date of the monsoon is 30th September officially, but it continues up to October. This year, you can remember what happened in North Bengal. On 4th, 5th of October, there was a torrential rainfall in the Himalayan hill slope, and that led to disaster in North Bengal. Coincidentally, I remember 1968, 4th October, what happened in Jalpaiguri. আমি তখন ক্লাস 10-এ পড়ি, হ্যাঁ, একটা এইরকমই একটা রেইনফল, একটা ডিজাস্টার হয়েছিল, এন্টায়ার জলপাইগুড়ি টাউন ওয়াজ ওয়াশড অ্যাওয়ে। And in 2023, when Lonok Lake in Sikkim was outburst, it was also on 4th October. So what I am trying to mean that late monsoon cloudburst is also very challenging for us. And also another issue is that, this is not exactly related to urban planning, the Kharif cultivation is the backbone of our food security. What our farmers do, they create a nursery based before the arrival of the monsoon. When monsoon comes, the land is prepared, they transplant it. But if the rain is delayed, what happens? The transplantation is also delayed. And what farmers under compulsion do, they start to exploit the groundwater table. And that leads to alarming depletion of the groundwater table all over the Bengal. I was working on this. Believe me, on an average, the deltaic plain is the piezometric level, the groundwater level, is being lowered at the rate of 13 centimeter per year. If the groundwater table goes down, what happens? It is also not only it is the sources of drinking and irrigation water, it is also a load-bearing layer. So the city starts, what happens? You are creating a void inside. And every day we are overloading this city. And this delta soil is not yet consolidated. So overlying load and a void at underground, at subsurface, means slow subsidence of the city. That has happened in Kolkata. That has happened in Dalhousie Square, Raja Bazar, Kamak Street, and many other areas. So that creates another kind of basin and many other environmental issues. Second issue is that the sea surface temperature is increasing, what we call SST, and that leads to more and more cyclone formation. You can remember 4 cyclones, starting from Ayla, Bulbul, Amphan, Yas, etc., etc. But believe me, 16 cyclones have formed in last 16 years over the Bay of Bengal. And fortunately, not all the cyclones came over the Sundarban. 4 came over and that disaster may be a weak expression what happened thereon. So we have many challenges. So whenever we think of this sustainable expansion of the city, please try to think holistically. Sometimes this specialization has a problem. They have some sectoral outlook, very narrow sectoral outlook. And এটা বোধহয় আমি পড়ছিলাম টলেমির, ক্লডিয়াস টলেমির লাইফের কথা। লোকটা ও যখন কার্টোগ্রাফি করছে, হি ওয়াজ দ্য ফার্স্ট, ওয়ান অফ দি ফার্স্ট পাইওনিয়ার ম্যাপ মেকার। হি স্টার্টেড টু ম্যাপ দিস পার্ট অফ দি কান্ট্রি। ও লোকটা ফিজিক্স জানতেন, আর শেষ জীবনে ওর মনে হলো যে একটু মিউজিক নিয়ে কাজ করা দরকার, অ্যান্ড হি স্টার্টেড টু ওয়ার্ক অন মিউজিক। ফলে আপনি যদি দেখেন আমাদের যারা পাইওনিয়ার রিসার্চার বেঙ্গলে, তারাও মাল্টিডিসিপ্লিনারি অ্যাপ্রোচে যেতেন। I would like to request you to break the barrier of your subject and go beyond that. আমার যত বয়স বেড়েছে, তত I realize that this narrow sectoral outlook is sometimes suicidal, leads to a wrong conclusion. So when you think of urban planning, expansion, also think of the groundwater, also think of the geomorphology, also think of the topography, meteorology, biodiversity, air, as a whole, lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere, all the four spheres of ecosystem must be taken into account. আমি ক্লাসে পড়াতে পড়াতে একজনের কথা বলতাম, তার কথা বলে শেষ করব। হি ওয়াজ ব্যারি কমনার। ব্যারি কমনার তিনি মেকিং পিস উইথ দ্য প্ল্যানেট বলে একটা বই লিখেছিলেন। তাতে তিনি বললেন, দের আর 4 laws of ecology which governs your existence. First law, উনি বললেন, ইউ আর লিভিং ইন এ ইকোসিস্টেম হোয়ার এভরিথিং ইজ কানেক্টেড টু এভরিথিং এলস। সেকেন্ড ল, উনি বললেন, এভরিথিং মাস্ট গো সামহায়ার, like hydrological cycle, like air. Even you produce waste, it must go somewhere. Third law, whatever you do, you will have to pay a cost. So think twice what you are going to do. And fourth law is very close to my heart. Nature knows the best kind of engineering. Nature knows the best. So let us try to respect the nature and think how we can live in this world in a sustainable manner. With these few words, I stop here. Thank you all for your patient hearing.
Thank you, sir, for your deeply enriching and thought-provoking speech. Your insights add immense value to the theme of this symposium. Thank you, sir, once again. So the first part of our program ends here. We will now break for tea. So we have a half an hour tea break, and we'll approximately meet at 12 o'clock. So kindly please be seated by then, as we are going to start our next session, where 3 of our speakers will start speaking. So, okay, see you all after tea. Thank you. Kindly, all of you proceed for tea. As we don't have much time, we have to come here back by 12 o'clock. The tea is served just in the corridor, in the left. So please.
মানে I have to identify the না কোন এটা
ফাইলটা এই স্যারের পিপিটি কোথাও রাখতে হবে দেখে নিন।
তোমার নামটা ভুলে গেলাম।
আমার সৌম্যদীপ।
হ্যাঁ,
সৌম্যদীপ।
সৌম্যদীপ। এটাই আচ্ছা সরি করো ওপেন করো
যদি ওটা মেল করতে পারে।
এই আমি ডেস্কটপে কপি করে দেবো খুলে দিয়ে পিডিএফটাই কপি করলাম হ্যাঁ দেখে নিচ্ছি এবার খুলে খালি দেখে নিয়ে চট করে তোমাদের মাউস প্যাড রাখো নি একটা এখানে মাউসটা চলতে অসুবিধা হচ্ছে
এটা খুলে দিচ্ছি। চার্জার থাকবে থাক জাস্ট নিচে নিচে
Working fine.
Let me introduce to you. This is Professor Srivalshan. Yes. Just join. I'll have my own. It's the first time that I'm meeting you, but it gives me immense pleasure. I will talk to you similarly after your presentation. Yes, yes. Getting the resource to, because you know it very well that this part of the India is basically led back electric. People have some notion with the.
Yes, it's not like
there are metro block.
it's not like Ahmedabad
Yes,
or
they
Bangalore or yes.
they're not progressive.
Hello.
That basically that accident impeding the architect also.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, I have a few young friend architects who are also they're coming
A
up
lot of
with this new ideas.
experimentation has been taken, must be ever by GU also regarding the bamboo structure and everything like that. But I think bamboo, there are essential products which can be.
Professor Samaresh Mukherjee.
Yes.
He
Yes,
was
very
professor. I met him.
Okay,
many times.
okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a very good relationship with them.
Okay. Yes. He was a professor.
Yeah. I think you have been to Bolton Shanti.
Yes, yes, I've seen his
And
rooms.
he
His
instituted,
corporate
yes,
rooms.
yes, Corbelly.
Yes.
That Corbelly, he instituted over there.
Yes. So I learned from him and I utilized his design in a project for Duran Mukherjee. Yes. So there is a, I was that time I was architect with Duran Mukherjee and I was in charge of the project Amal Bari in Chantilly. And we would have this, please. Hey, because my laptop is working. So.
Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check.
অডিও ফাটছে মানে কি ওটা তোমার ক্যামেরা আওয়াজটা কেমন বিচ্ছিরি আসছে ফাট 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 করছে আমি যাচ্ছি আমি এখানে শুরু করে দিয়ে এখানে অডিও ঠিক আছে তো
Hello, check. 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 Check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Hello, check. Check. Hello, check.
Hello. We're going to start the session in 5 minutes. So kindly take your seats and ask whoever is outside to come back to the auditorium and take their seats. Volunteers, kindly ensure that all of them are inside this auditorium in their respective seats. SNU volunteers, kindly escort all the people outside to come back. নামগুলো যে লাগালি কোথায় ওটা ডাক ওদেরকে ওই তো শ্রী ওইটা না যেরকম নাম থাকবে সেরকম বসবে ঠিক আছে ঠিক আছে ওটা আরেকজন নেবে তো তখন হ্যাঁ অন করেই রাখুন তাহলে ঠিক আছে জাস্ট এটা প্রেস করলি তো হ্যাঁ এটাই যেরকম লাইটটা অন এরকম
internal development যেটা সেটা একটু
সেশন চেয়ার তো ফার্স্ট টেক ওভার করবে, তারপরে
I will send you the brochure. We are going to make the poster. We just finalized the date to make the poster this weekend. Then I will send to. So there are three options. One day, make a testing of the bamboo shallow dome, 8 meters.
can I take borrow just one minute? So ma'am, I'll introduce you as a session chair. Then first thing they will do,
I will ask them to come to the stage.
yeah, they will be felicitated by the convener.
Okay.
Okay, that is the first thing we'll do. Then
I'll ask them. You will call them to the stage, or I will call them
no,
to the stage?
I will call you. You will call them.
Call them, and then they will be felicitated, and then I'll introduce.
Yes, yes. So we are about to start the session. People who are looking at the exhibition are requested to come back to their seats. Yeah? That's okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So we are going to start session 2 of our symposium. So the theme is climate conscious design, shaping sustainable environments. And I will take this opportunity to introduce our session chair, Professor Suganya Law. Ma'am, please come onto the stage and take over the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I warmly welcome you for this session where we will be hearing from architects practicing and in academia and research, and we will have a discussion post their presentations. And I would like to welcome architect Loha Fournier, who's practicing architect in Kolkata, and architect John Joy Gupta to the dais, please. Yeah, thank you. And we would like to call upon the head for felicitating our guest speakers. And the convener, please, yes. Convener of the symposium. Apologies.
I'll request two senior professors present here, Professor Shoibal Sen and Professor Enango Shekhar Roy, to also come up on the dais to felicitate the guest.
Thank you all the senior faculty members of the department. It is my privilege to introduce our first speaker of the session, architect Laurent Fournier. He is a French-born architect trained in École d'Architecture, but he fell in love with Kolkata and he's made it his home for more than 25 years now, where he lives and practices architecture, working closely with the artisans and learning from the indigenous techniques and applying his scientific mindset to the whole construction. And he has traveled pan-India and has been redefining sustainable design through bold experiments, from domes to reinforcement-free staircases, always rooted in context and climate. By grounding his work in analytical research on vernacular materials, he bridges traditional wisdom with scientific precision, showing how the city itself can be a laboratory for innovative and climate-responsive architecture. And I'm sure in his presentation now, we will see the examples from his practice And we will have about 30 minutes each for our speaker, and then we will invite questions from the audience, and we will have a discussion on this topic, climate conscious design shaping a sustainable infrastructure. It's yours.
Thank you. This mic is working, or? Yes, I think it's working, yes. So thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk here and to share some of my experiment in the last few years. Am I audible? The distance of the mic is good? Oh, all right. So I will start with one of the issues which I think is the most important today is the merging of bioclimatic architecture on one side and adaptive comfort theory. So bioclimatic architecture was born in the 1960s, 70s, and it was very much about building physics, insulation, albedo, thermal mass, this kind of thing. And you have names like Victor Olgier, American-Hungary architect who started this subject, and then Baruch Givoni. And so their idea was to work with the climate instead of fighting it. And in parallel, it started in the early 1970s, so it's already 50 years. Two people, one is here, he's Humphrey. No, this is Fergus Nicol, yes, and his colleague, partner in crime is Humphrey. So they studied comfort. And this is a very nice quote which he gives, Fergus Nicol. Architectural standards throughout the world have declined as a result of the advent of air conditioning. And they have been abetted in this by the use of temperature standards, which can only be met using air conditioning. The fact that any building can be made to work with the use of air conditioning has militated against those architects who, like the builders of the past, want to design buildings which work with the climate to produce internal delight, rather than fighting it with fossil fuels to produce the aptly named neutral temperature. There are a lot of misunderstandings about adaptive comfort, so I just want quickly in 2 minutes to summarize the main findings. So this method of assessing comfort is based on people's feedback. Do you feel comfortable or do you not feel comfortable? That is a criteria. So you ask this series of questions. So generally, typically, they go in some office or factory where you have a lot of people, they distribute questionnaires, and people fill up the questionnaire. So first question, do you feel comfortably warm? If yes, are you really quite comfortable, or would you rather have the room slightly warmer or slightly cooler? If no, are you feeling too warm or too cool? If too warm, just definitely too warm or much too warm? And if too cool, just definitely too cool or much too cool? So basically, you have this, this scale. You know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Scale on 7. From much too warm to much too cool. And then this is a result. So you see, on the horizontal axis, you have the temperature. And on the vertical axis, you have whether people feel comfortable or not. So what is very interesting is that, this is working. You see, you have a large dispersion. Some people feel comfortable at 38 degrees, and some people feel comfortable at 19, 20 degrees. So a very large range of temperature, which is puzzling. So they were wondering, is it so that do it in different countries? You know, it is on the, this is in England, this is in Baghdad, Singapore, warm countries, cold countries. So the question is it cultural? Is it ethnic? Or is it something else? What is the reason for this difference of temperature? Here you can see also on the scale a wide range of temperature, and people feel comfortable at all this range. Now this becomes very interesting. You have this is an outdoor temperature. So the questionnaires are given inside a building, not outside the building. Because we want to assess whether the building works well, whether the building gives comfortable conditions. But this is outside temperature, not in the building. It is a temperature outside the building. And this is the temperature at which, so inside the building, at which people feel comfortable. So what we observe is that when it is 32 degrees outside, people feel comfortable at 30 degrees. And when it is 18 degrees outside, people feel comfortable at 20. And you have this relationship. Now this relationship, interestingly, this is taken in many different countries. This line is the same for every country. But you have two lines. This is a straight line. It is for free-running buildings, those which have no AC and no heating. And this curved line is for the building which have heating or cooling. Now, of course, when you have 0 degree, you need heating. You know, in Siberia, in Sweden, you need to burn fuel in winter. Otherwise, you cannot survive. So the temperature, comfort temperature does not go beyond 20, 18 degrees. But what is interesting is that in mechanically cooled or heated building, the slope of the curve is not so steep. And this is something that we observe when we give the questionnaire to people. It means people living in air-conditioned building or heated building are much more finicky. They tend to complain more than if the building does not have air conditioning or heating. And this is not something that comes from theory. This is a result that we get when we ask people, do you feel comfortable? Do you not feel comfortable? Okay, so that is a fact. It is a very interesting fact. Yes, this is from a presentation by Michael Humphrey. You can show your status without a business suit. And warm clothing can be smart too. So you have another phenomenon which is very interesting, is that if people are allowed to open the window, if they are allowed to switch on and off the fan, if the dress code is not too strict, then you get from the questionnaire, from the result, that they tend to be more happy, even if the temperature and moisture are the same. So this is called the forgiveness factor. If you give the freedom to people to act on their own initiative, on their environment, they tend to complain much less. And I think, I'm sure it's something you have observed in in a hotel, for example, in a conference, in a typically this kind of room. You know, we have no window, temperature, lighting condition, temperature condition are imposed on you. Or in typical open office without partition and no one has a window, you know, huge floor plates, people tend to complain. Either it's too cool or it's too hot or they are never really happy. You become very finicky in this kind of condition. In this photo, you have a perfect office. You have your own window. everything is in your control. So even if it is cool, if you give a questionnaire, you will find out that this person will tend to not complain, even if it is too hot or too cold. And this is the opposite, a very bad office, an office with poor adaptive opportunity. This is a Kolkata local train. This is an old design. So this design, there was only one problem. When you are standing and you want to know at which station you are, you had to look down like this so that you could look below. That was the only problem. But the big advantage is that you get the light on your lap and not in your eyes. And the windows could open 100%. So there was no glazed portion, which was fixed. Now this is a new design. So you see, this is me. I think I'm going to Barasat. So it looks like it has been designed by someone from Russia or Sweden. I don't know why, this stupid design. Well, you really have the greenhouse effect. So this is also, unfortunately, we also have sometimes degradation of design because of some unscientific process. This was a good design and this is a bad design. And the modern design is bad. This, I will go very quickly. This was my building where I lived for 5 years, some years ago in Bagajotin. And here I have superimposed for 3 years all the electricity bill of CESC. So you need you see how many kilowatt each flat, and they are superimposed, added together. So you can see this is summer, this is a monsoon, this is winter, again summer, again monsoon, again winter. So you see the electric consumption varies a lot. This is over 3 years, 3.5 years. And here I have splitted. There are 2 AC flats in this building. This is a consumption, average consumption of the 2 AC flats. I mean, these flats are not only fully AC, these are 2 BHK flats, and there is 1 split AC per flat, so it's very moderate. But still, you can see the huge difference. And this is the average consumption of the non-AC flats. So you see the magnitude of energy consumption is more, and the variation is also more, which is more difficult to handle for the electricity supplier, this variation in consumption. Now, I took the temperature at Dum Dum Airport for the same 3 years. It is this red line. So this red line and this red line is the same. It is just scaled vertically, stretched, and also positioned. So basically, this is electric consumption of the AC flat. This is electric consumption of the non-AC flat. And I have stretched vertically and shifted the temperature to get the best fit. And you see, we get a very good fit. So we have this very interesting thing that if, suppose in the year 3000, the temperature records have been lost, and one archaeologist, he finds the electricity bill from CESC, Kolkata Electric Supply. Just like we can find out the temperature from the trees, from the fossil. We can find out the temperature that it was in Kolkata from the electricity bill. So it means our buildings are so mediocre that, that they are just as good as thermometer. But then what is the job of the architect? You plug in your building and it can be made to work. And this has happened in the last 60, 70 years. Before that, we lived all over the world. Look, this is Givoni. This I go fast. It is very interesting, but I have to go fast. Is the forgiveness factor. Yes, look. In the last 12,000 years, this is a study by Ellis in 2021. This is a land use over the entire planet. And the bottom, this portion is a wild areas of the Earth. This is 12,000 years ago. Here, every bar is 1,000 years. Here, every bar is 1 century. And here, every bar is 10 years. So you see the, and this is a inhabited area of the Earth, which has not changed in the last 12,000 years. So it means 12,000 years ago, we were already living in the Sundarbans, in the Amazon, in the Thar Desert, in Tibet, in Siberia, everywhere. And at that time, 12,000 years ago, the population of the Earth was 4 million. So you could go anywhere. You would not bump into someone. You know, you could take any land, build your house. There was no space. But still, we lived in such places. So that's very interesting because there was no electricity. So why we went to live there is a question that you have to think. I mean, personally, I think we went to live there because we like it. and even without AC and even without all the facilities that we have today. So this gives a different idea. You know, sometimes we say, oh, there is climate change and without AC we are going to die. I even saw some articles saying that in order to save lives, we have to assert the right to AC, the right to air conditioning. And it looks like completely out of place when you see our history, where we have lived in the last 12,000 years. This I will go fast because we have not much time. This is some mother drawings. This is something I really advise to every student to do mother drawing as soon as you can have an opportunity. Generally, I carry with me this laser measure. You know, now it's very cheap. For 3,000 rupees, you can have a laser measure. And if you see a good building, take some measurement, make some sketches, take some photos, and keep it for your record. and try to spend time to make a nice drawing. Because advantage of doing the drawing yourself, especially by hand, is that you never forget the building. Then you can even, the building can be lost, photos can be lost. If you have drawn it, it will be here in your mind. You will never forget. So this is, to make mother drawing, you can say it's almost like doing a yoga. You can do it every day. You will always learn from it and you will make better drawings. Whenever you draw your project, you will make better working drawing, better concept drawing. So these are some examples in Uttarakhand. Do you know lime and cement, where they come from? They are made of calcium, but this calcium is not readily available. The limestone is available because animals have first built their own skeleton with calcium, marine animals. So this makes lime. And cement, it is limestone burnt together with clay. Again, clay is not something that is so easy to find. Clay, you know, you can, if you break rocks, you get gravel. If you grind gravels, you get sand. If you grind sand, you get silt. But you cannot go smaller than silt by just a grinding or erosion process. You need a chemical process to create clay. And this chemical process is created by the roots of plants. So the forest, the plants have created the clay, animals have created the limestone, and together we can make cement. So we can make the skeleton of our building because animals have made their skeleton before, for millions of years. And as an example, right now they are trying to make buildings on Mars, where Elon Musk will send people there. And they don't know, I think just to send one brick on Mars will cost $100 million or something like that. So they are trying to find out how to make bricks on Mars, but there is no binder. You cannot find Fevicol, you cannot find cement, you cannot find anything, no clay, everything is powder. So they found a brilliant solution, brilliant quotation mark. They will work with the blood of astronauts. So they will extract the blood, and one astronaut can produce 2.5 bricks per month. So you see, these are evolution. Sometimes we think of the Egyptian slaves making the pyramids, but you can imagine now the Martian slaves making 2.5 bricks per month, and they will spend their entire life just to make a small igloo. So this shows when we think where lime and cement and clay come from, you cannot build with mud if you don't have enough clay in the soil. Silt is not you cannot build with silt, you need clay. So all this we get it from life forms, from plants and animals. This, I go fast because we don't have much time. Oh, this is very, very important. This was an interview of Le Corbusier. So the journalist asked him, what are, by order of priority, your objectives when you have to build housing? And Le Corbusier, who is one of the founders of modern architecture, replied, first of all, what are we talking about? The private clientele or man in general? The private clientele is generally weird, silly, with bad habits acquired from life. It doesn't interest me much. So you see, this is really a problem with modernity. Modern architects like Le Corbusier are actually not interested in their contemporaries. They think that ordinary people are not good enough to understand their art, their building. And the answer to that, I think, came first from Egyptian architect Hassan Fatih, who found that architecture has to be grounded in the people as they are. And this can be followed. Some of the best architects today who are following this direction are, for example, the Hunarchala Foundation in Bhuj, in Gujarat. They are really working from the basis of the culture of the people for whom they are working. So when you look at your client, instead of looking at his bad habits, look at his good habits. Instead of looking at how weird your client is, look at how great his culture is, or her culture is. And this will give nourishment to your architecture as an architect. And this will nourish your design. These are drawings by Hassan Fatih. These are drawings by my teacher, mother drawings of buildings of Paris. Again, some mother drawings. Mother drawings in Birbhum. These are some architects which inspire me. This is Durganand Balsavar in South India. He says, I realize that the architect's control has to give way to community's aspiration. Then you can make truly meaningful buildings. This is my friend. She's a textile designer. Someone asked her, so she designs international clothes. She sells in Tokyo, in New York, in Paris, but using exclusively Bengali crafts, embroidery, hand embroidery, hand woven, all the manual Indian craft. And her specificity is that she makes such design that a machine cannot do. And you can see, like for example, she weaves a textile with 25 different colors, which no mechanical loom can do today. And the result is astonishing. So if you wanted to pay for it, and this is also what I'm trying to do in my architecture. I'm trying to develop design which will celebrate the skill of the artisan by doing a design that a mechanical process cannot do. So the question that this person asked her is, okay, you have a design, how do you find locally solutions to implement your design? And her answer is, my problem is the opposite. I have a number of skill sets, even I have a number of artisans, and my task is to find a design that will celebrate their art. So you have this very intimate relationship between the designer and the artisan. This is Sandeep Virmani, the co-founder of Hunarchala Foundation. I think I have to go fast because we don't have much time, but this is really one of the architects who inspire me today. This I will go fast because I have another. Yes, this is very interesting. This I went in the Sundarbans in 2020 with my friend Shangita Kapoor, and she had this idea that just two of us was not enough. She invited many people to join us in our effort, and we proposed 3 prototypes of the same footprint. And our idea was to showcase all the techniques that for us would be relevant to the Sundarbans. So some of these techniques were local, some were not local. And there was 20 different techniques. You know, 3 different techniques, 3 different foundations, 3 different vertical structure, 3 different intermediate floor, 4 different roof, 3 different type of doors and windows, and 3 different type of staircases in these 3 small buildings. So it was more like a catalog of techniques. Now these 2 techniques, today, if you go in this village in Raidigi, you can find 2 of these techniques, villagers are using them without asking our permission. They are just using these techniques. One is a shallow brick dome. The other is a prefabricated thatch panel. These 2 techniques, of these 19 techniques, they are the 2 techniques which have not been invented by architects or engineers, very interestingly. So we have acted as intermediaries. The shallow dome have been, the shallow dome have been reinvented recently since 1980 by masons from Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. And the idea was very simple. You enclose the shallow dome in a reinforced concrete tie beam so that you can use it in, I will make a next presentation on shallow dome quickly. So basically the shallow dome, they are quicker, they are cheaper, and they are stronger than concrete slab. And so we architects, you see, if Shangita Kapoor and me and our friends, Udit Mittal, who now is working there, if we did not go there, then the shallow dome would have needed maybe 100 years to reach the Sundarbans. So we have been, as architects, as this NGO Mukti, who is funding the project, we have been accelerators of history. But the real invention actually came from the artisan. So you see, as architects, our output is CAD drawing, Excel sheet, PowerPoint presentation. We are into communication. You should remember that. But someone else will actually, with their own hands, they will put the brick and cut the bamboo and assemble. And this is not to diminish our role, because because of our communication tools and our ability to travel, we have the ability to connect ideas from different places. So these artisans from Haryana and Uttar Pradesh who invented these modern shallow domes, now their domes are being used in the Sundarbans. And the thatch panel, they come from Indonesia. Hunarchala Foundation had to rebuild a village in Indonesia. They have discovered these panels, this technique, which has a unique advantage that 70% of the work is done on the ground and 30% is done on the roof. So if you are not, it's not so easy to climb on a roof. It's dangerous, ladies cannot climb. But anyone in the house, if you have 2 hours free, you can make some thatch panel with your own thatch. When you have enough, you call the mistri and he put them on the roof. So it's very efficient for the villagers. So this technique was brought to India by Hunarchala Foundation. I learned from them, then I introduced to West Bengal, and now it's working in the Sundarbans. So this is what, as architect, we can do. This is a very interesting economist, Nicolas Georgescu-Roegen. He linked the economy with the entropy, theory of entropy, and he found that the more you mechanize a process, the more you produce waste. So this is also something to keep in mind. If you have 2 solutions for a process, for a building, one which takes more labor and one which takes more material. Suppose the cost is the same and the result is the same. The solution using less material and more labor will create less pollution and less waste, automatically. You don't need to go into complicated simulations. This is an interesting fact. This is an Indian standard code of practice for treatment of septic tank effluent. So everyone is using, either for large projects, STP, sewage treatment plant, or for small projects, small houses, small projects, soak pit. Everyone in West Bengal is using soak pit for small projects. This is what the standard says. You have 3 soil conditions and 2 possible levels for the groundwater. It is above 1.8 meter or below 1.8 meter from ground level. Of these 6 conditions, only 1 is suitable for soak pit, below 1.8 meter and for this particular soil condition. Now, where do you find this soil condition in West Bengal? Look at the map. Almost nowhere. So it means even the Indian standard we are not following. And why this standard, this 1.8 meter? Because a soak pit has to be 1.5 meter deep. You need minimum 1 foot between the bottom of the soak pit and the aquifer if you don't want to pollute the aquifer. Otherwise, all the germs, all the microbes will go directly into the aquifer and pollute all the ponds. And when you see the importance of a pond in West Bengal, it's really the lifeline of people. Often they brush their teeth in the pond, they wash. So you see the importance of not polluting the pond and not polluting the aquifer. And unfortunately, on a massive scale, we are not even following the Indian standard. This is an eco sign I did. It was designed by Dr. Dept. So I did this eco. You know, this is a toilet. So these are my clients, my friends. They are having coffee in the loo. Did you ever have coffee with friends in the toilet? It's okay. This is an eco-san. This is briefly how it works. This is the invention of Dr. Dept. You separate at source the solid, the urine, and the wash water. Wash water goes into a constructed wetland treatment. The urine goes into a plastic tank, then you can dilute with water and use it directly because it has no germs. And the solid is composted in this basket. So we have 3 baskets. When one is full, we push it. And basket within 3 months, it becomes a dry powder. All the germs are killed, and then they just put it in their garden. So nothing goes underground. There is no sewage, no septic tank. Let's go quickly. This is a system invented by Dr. Dept, which is using in his farm since now 30 years. And termite, this is one of my red lines. You know, I never use so-called termite treatment. Yes, 5 minutes. Okay. Okay. So I have a few red lines. One is I will not build in a pond. You know, 4 people in the last 10 years asked me to build a so-called green building. They told me it has to be bamboo because in this place, concrete buildings are not allowed. I asked, why? It's like that, okay. And where is it? Near Ruby Hospital, okay. Let's see the site. Then I see the site, and I say, but I think this is a wetland, no? I say, oh, are you sure? Then I check on the map, yes, right in the wetland. So 4 times people ask me to make so-called green building right in the middle of the wetland. So this is a red line. I don't fill pond. I don't build in the wetland. I don't use chloropyrifos because chloropyrifos, this termite treatment, will poison yourself more than the termite. After a few years, termite will come, but you will be poisoned. I don't use large, like this flooring. See, this is plastic, this is plastic, this is plastic. Unfortunately, whatever we call laminate, so-called laminate, it is actually plastic. In good quality plywood, you have 50% of plastic. In bad quality, you have maybe 20%. Means glue. Glue means synthetic polymer, means plastic. So it burns like mad. There is one movie which you have to see about plastic. This is done by one of the biggest insurance companies in the US. They have compared how 2 rooms burn, one made with solid wood, cotton, jute, all the natural fibers, and one done with modern furniture. And modern furniture, wherever you purchase, be it IKEA or anything, it will be full of plastic. So they started by placing a candle just on the sofa. The time is accelerated. Okay, this is already almost 2 minutes. It's 3 minutes. Four minutes. Five minutes. 5 minutes, this is a condition. It is called flashover. This is the moment everything is gone. No one can do anything. Yes, but flashover is like suddenly everything is engulfed in. It's a technical term for the fire services. And no fire department can reach a site in 5 minutes anywhere in the world. No one. Look, you have half an hour. This is interior. The structure is the same. Concrete is not a problem. It is what kind of finishing you are using. So if you want to use bamboo, so you see they have done the testing repeatedly, the same result. It's half an hour versus less than 5 minutes. So next time if you want to use bamboo and someone asks you, what about fire? You tell, at least I am not using plastic. Bamboo is hugely better than plastic. Can I have 5 minutes more? I wanted to show some pictures of a 3-story bamboo building we are building. It helps, yes, it helps. Yes, bamboo will not be 5 minutes. Bamboo will be at least 15 minutes. It depends how you build, actually. It depends. For this building, I will show you what we have done. So, it's not moving. Yes, it helps. Yes, borax, yes. So this is a school for which we are making this building. This is a site. We are treating bamboo in the water. This is a section. You see 3-storied. Here we are treating the bamboo. We are doing 3,000 bamboos. This is the first phase, phase 1 on the right. Again, the section is doing the foundation. So foundation, these are very, you see, this is a foundation. It's like a bati, like a bowl. This is only 5 inches brickwork. We had to dig by hand, very carefully. First by JCB, we did dig roughly, and then we finished by hand. So it's an inverted dome. It's taking all the load safely. It takes a 3-story building. These are foundations, foundation. Yes, you see, I am using very tiny reinforced concrete tie beam. This is just 5 inches by 5 inches. And I have 6 rods of 8 mm in a bundle, no ring. So you can say this is more like a steel cable embedded in concrete rather than reinforced concrete as such. It does not work in bending. It works purely in tension. So reinforced concrete is extremely efficient, extremely cheap if you use it where it really matters, where it makes a difference. And here it really makes a big difference. So I am not against concrete at all. I want to use it really where it makes the most effect, in very small quantities. This foundation, I will go quick. Here we are drilling the bamboo to insert rods. Here you see we are grouting a 8 mm steel rod 2 feet into the bamboo using cement, and it comes out. So at the end, you have one bamboo with one rod coming out at both ends, which is very useful for joining because this rod can be cast into concrete. This is called the Colombian joining. It was invented by Oscar Hidalgo and Simon Velez, 2 architects from Colombia. These are the columns we are using. You know the mura. So these columns are like mura, very tall and very narrow. This is under construction. So the mura column is totally filled up with mud and totally plastered with mud. So when this client asked me to make a 3-storied, actually, they did not say 3-storied. They had a land, which is very small. They wanted a school for 300 children. So it had to be 3-storied. We had no choice. And they wanted bamboo. I told them, fine, I think I can do that, but you will not see a single bamboo. It will be totally covered with mud. And very happily, I'm very lucky, they said yes. Because most people who want bamboo, they want to show off the bamboo everywhere. But they said yes. They say, we want the real thing. They are complete followers of Tagore. They are very authentic people. So we are doing this building. Now, this is a staircase we are doing by the Rotak method without shuttering. This is a staircase design, Jali. I want to show you the main thing is a bamboo shallow dome. This is detail of the joining of the reinforced concrete tie beam and the columns. And so you see we combine steel, concrete, bamboo, just as it works best. Now this is, you see, so this is octagonal tie beam. It has 8-meter span. 8-meter reinforced concrete slab do not work unless you make pre-stressed, which is very expensive. But normal concrete, you cannot have concrete slab below 5 meters, actually. Now this is the bamboo dome. This is stage 1, we are doing here. Stage 2, so these are full bamboo, spanning from one end to the other end. Here we are doing it. This is a hole becomes small in the center, and this is the last stage. This is elevation of the school. This is the roof. Yes. So I think I have taken most of the time. I want to give one announcement. We'll have a hands-on workshop in this place in the first weekend of March. So you will have an opportunity to work on this staircase without shuttering. You will have an opportunity to build one of these bamboo shallow domes, to build one of these columns, and we will make a load test of this dome, which you will see. And
Hello. Yes, sorry for interrupting. We'll be more than happy to send our students for this. So if you can share,
Yes.
we have WhatsApp numbers and we
Of
can
course.
exchange, yes.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you can share over WhatsApp the details of the
Absolutely.
workshop,
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
this is definitely an opportunity for students actually to get hands-on experience. So
Yes.
we'll like our students to
I will
participate,
send
and
you the poster.
we have faculty members from Amity and Techno India University. If they want to collab, please let us know. Yes. If you want to collab, please let us know. We'll collab together and we can send students, okay?
And here I am jumping on the dome. So it's very funny because, you know, a dome is very stiff. It does not move at all. It's even more stiff than a concrete slab. So thank you for your attention. Oh, this is another photo of a shallow dome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Architect Lohan, for that wonderful passage of presentation, starting from the philosophy to the practical and the fun part of it in the end with the jumping on the bamboo. And if you would like to take a seat, please. And we will take questions and as part of the panel discussion after our next speaker. It's my pleasure to introduce Architect John Majoy Gupta. He is a faculty member at SPA Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh currently. He is an architect with 6 years of industrial experience and over 15 years of academic experience. And he has a master's in urban planning and PhD in architectural design for thermal comfort. He has worked on a wide gamut of architectural and urban planning projects with emphasis on passive design strategies and environment-related issues. Since 2011, he has been in academia, teaching and contributing to extensive research on climate-responsive design. He has guided students in competitions and dissertations to create built architecture in harmony with the environment. Stage is all yours.
Thank you, ma'am. The PPT has to be, that laptop is not connected. Okay.
Just bear with us, please. Yeah.
Right, I will in the meantime start before the PPT comes. So my core area over the last few years has been energy efficient architecture, which is the next step of what Dr. Fournier was also talking about, architect Fournier was also talking about, is the next step of climate responsive design. Because finally, as he was also showing electricity bills and everything, finally we need to reduce our energy consumption. Climate responsive design always helps in reduction of energy efficient, reduction of energy consumption through appropriate energy efficient design. And energy efficiency includes certain concepts which basically deal with the thermal performance of the envelope. And there are terms which many of you will be acquainted with, like the thermal transmittance of a material, the thermal capacity of a material, but all those are at the building level. And in today's presentation, I will start with the building level things and then move on to neighborhood and city level things, because energy efficiency, it's no longer good enough if we just restrict to building level. It has to go beyond building level and go on to neighborhood and urban scale level also, and have its expression in zoning regulations of a city, in the bylaws of a city. And so it will be a mix. I'll start with the building level and then move on to the neighborhood level and some selected areas of the city level. And then I'll also showcase MOUG, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs project that I recently completed, SPA Vijayawada team did it as part of Amrut grants, Mohua Amrut grants, where we studied the energy efficiency considerations in zoning regulations in the city of Tirupati. So I start my presentation now. Thank you, first of all, for SNU for inviting me, and a very warm good afternoon to all the distinguished guests on and off the dais, and warm good afternoon to all other faculty members from other institutions, as well as all other students of SNU and other institutions. So I start my A. So climate conscious design, shaping sustainable environments. That's one of the fundamental things being discussed in this RISE symposium, a very relevant thing. So what is climate conscious design? It's micro to macro, or macro to micro, or it's a loop. Essentially it's a loop. Micro is obviously the building scale, local becomes a neighborhood scale, and macro becomes a city scale. So, and it's very important to understand that both have to be simultaneously addressed. So obviously, global warming is likely to reach 1.5 degree Celsius, which is, it's keeping on growing as per IPCC and other reports. And electricity use is widely increasing, obviously as on date, urban areas completely dependent on electricity, and we are the major consumers of electricity. Cities are major energy guzzlers. 90% of global energy requirements and growth will be in cities. The number of megacities are increasing. Obviously, more and more cities are getting added to the list of megacities. Energy use in India is also increasing manifold as per India Energy Outlook and other data. No doubt about that. So it's high time we address it. Sector-wise, energy use buildings are a sizable contributor. So we need to be careful of that. So an energy efficient design approach. So nowadays it's become very stringent also. We have the Energy Conservation Building Code for commercial buildings. We have the Eco Nivas Samhita for residential buildings as well. And now recently in 2024 or 25 actually, last year, ECBC had another upgradation. It has now become Energy Conservation Sustainable Building Codes and Eco Nivas Sustainable, Eco Sustainable Nivas. So they lay down certain considerations regarding building envelope, regarding building window wall ratio, regarding window floor ratio, and other such aspects regarding the daylighting aspects, regarding the services aspects, which can help, which if integrated with the bylaws can help guide the architects to more energy conscious and energy conservatory approach design. And many states have actually made it mandatory. Including Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, they have made it actually mandatory. So it's high time that all states actually make it mandatory, where the green building guidelines have to be integrated right into the zoning regulations. So the energy efficient building, an overview, what all we mean by energy efficient building. Obviously, the main thing about an energy efficient building is that the envelope has to be appropriately designed, appropriate materials have to be used, so that like this AC hall, which we are cooling. So if we don't allow the heat from the outside to ingress in, and if we reduce the rate of ingress of the outside heat through the building materials, obviously it's a better design. So therefore that the proper insulation has to be used, even the inherent building materials that we use have to be properly done. That's one aspect. Even form orientation of, if we get the basic things wrong, if we orient the building itself wrongly, then obviously our cooling load for the AC will go up. If our longer wall is facing the west, it will obviously go up. Even if our building shapes, so nowadays most offices which are fully AC, you look for a compact shape. Compact shape means less exposure to the outside, and the heat loss and the heat gain is also lesser. So as per the norms of building physics. Then there is issues like embodied energy involved in it. Some materials have a very high amount of embodied energy and all those things. So this is an overview of which most of us are aware, and most of us keep, even is taught in 6th and 7th semesters, energy efficient architecture and all those as per COAA. So these are at the building level. So these are the envelope, the shading devices, all these help in making the form, optimized orientation, all these help in making a building energy efficient. So now, before we go on to a neighborhood NA, we need to know some basic things, obviously, right? So the material data, the materials that we use in the envelope of the building is very important for the proper heat balance maintaining in a building. The building energy usage data, the way it's consumed, the overall outside climatic data, and also the design data. That's where architect's role becomes important. Architect's role is not only in making proper climate responsive design, but as an add-on also to ensure that the amount of energy consumed in a building is not too much or is optimized. So the ways in which a building gains heat. A building can gain heat by conduction. That's the primary way, conduction and radiation basically. Conduction means that the building walls gain the heat, the solar radiation falls on it, the building walls gain the heat and they keep it stored. They don't start radiating it immediately, obviously, so they keep it stored. And that amount of time that they keep it stored is what makes, what we call is that thermal capacity. And the amount of time after which the heat radiates out inside is a thermal lag period. So a solid material, like say a concrete block, will have a higher thermal lag. So it will radiate out, say, about 10-12 hours afterwards. And a lighter material, like a fly ash brick, will have a lower thermal lag. So all these depend a lot. These are very important things. And then radiation, a part of our heat gain can happen through open glazings, which are direct sun radiation. And then when people are sitting inside a room, there are convection currents set up. We are sitting at sitting level and breathing out. We are working on our laptops, PCs, everything. And the air immediately is getting heated up and circulating. The hot air always rises up. And the cooler air from other parts comes in to take its place. These are basic physics rules which I employ inside a building and are very essential in understanding properly the concept of energy efficiency in architecture. So, as I was saying, the basic value is thermal transmittance. Thermal transmittance of a building material is the amount of heat that flows through 1 square meter of the building material or the combination of the building materials, because a wall is rarely one single building material. It will at least have brick and plaster, if not at all, more things. And brick will have its own U value, plaster will have its own U value, and it also depends on the thickness of that brick and plaster. So the amount of heat entering, passing through when a temperature difference of 1 unit, 1 Kelvin or 1 degree Celsius is applied across its ends. Then thermal capacity is the ability to store heat. And then our energy conservation building codes set some fixed values, U values, which ideally we should comply to. Like for a roof, it says 0.25 watt per meter square degree Celsius. It is the same in degree Kelvin or degree Celsius because it's a relative measurement. So it's 0.25 watt per meter square degree Celsius. And for a wall value, it says 0.42 watt per meter square degree Celsius. And for glass, obviously, that's why the main issue with energy people have with overuse of glass is you will find that it's much more increasing. It's becoming 1.4 to 1.9 watt per meter square degree Celsius. So obviously, the amount of heat gained when we are using glass is very high compared to other materials. So this is what, see how U value can be reduced by having proper building materials. This is from the Terry manual, how U value can be properly reduced if we use the proper building materials and the proper insulation. So then coming to the study at the urban scale. So why do we need this study at the urban scale? Because our development control regulations rarely involve all these things. They are not addressing these issues. We are doing it at a building level, yes, but it's rarely being addressed at a neighborhood and a city scale. And as I have mentioned already, cities consume 70 to 75% of the national electricity produced, 75 actually. So we took, because we are situated in Andhra Pradesh and we had to take cities within Andhra Pradesh, we took Tirupati. And Tirupati is like many other cities in India, it is reducing green cover. Its green covers are being reduced. And we analyzed and assessed the urban energy consumption at city level to begin with. And from that, we identified the high energy use wards. Tirupati is divided into 23 wards. And from land use energy interaction model, we actually, from the land use intensity and energy use intensity, by calculating the same, we identified that one of the wards amongst all these wards is the highest energy consumption ward. Then we finally, as you see in objective 3, we wanted to utilize built form, land use and climatic parameters at the pilot ward level and link it with the outcomes of the city's zoning regulations. So we took about 7 to 8 parameters and developed a model regression equations. The 7 to 8 parameters will be basically independent variables. And the dependent variable was the energy consumption. So what we did, like some of the parameters were the ground coverages of the buildings, the setbacks, the green buffers in the buildings, the external surfaces of the buildings, the surface, type of surface treatment, the occupancy factors of the buildings, and such other factors. And then these, how within the domains of the zoning regulations, within the domains of the allowable zoning regulations, how urban planners can actually modulate these 7 to 8 independent variables so that the final dependent variable, which is energy consumption at the ward level, can be controlled to a certain extent. We have to always remember that we can't change everything. We have to work within the ambit of the zoning regulations, but within that what we can do. So that was the attempt that was made in this study. And we did some upgradations, zoning regulation upgradations were suggested. So you can see here that is this on? This is working? Don't think so. So you'll see here that some of the issues, FAR, setback, height of the building, aspect ratio. Aspect ratio, we considered the plot aspect ratio, the plot width to the plot depth. And we found out actually that aspect ratios which were going beyond a certain threshold were performing poorly in the energy consumption point of view. So this is a Tirupati introduction. It's very famous as the Lord Venkateshwara temple. It has got a very high tourist inflow all the year round, and it is also one of the major cities of Andhra Pradesh. So it has got roads, connectivity, everything. And these are some of the glimpses of our project, which obviously actively involved the ULB, the Tirupati Municipal Corporation, and then there's the TUDA, the Tirupati Urban Development Authority. We presented to the commissioner, we presented to the MLA, we had to take there, we obviously were in, we had regular meetings with the TMC Chief Town Planner, the TUDA Town Planner, and it was a collaborative exercise because they needed to understand how would they benefit and how they could get into this, what were their deliverables. So it involved the normal process of the base maps, the digitization. We had a project officer, a very able project officer who assisted us during this entire project. The baseline, land use, and how it was changing. Because we needed all these data for the land use intensity calculation and residential energy use intensity calculation. Because the land use intensity calculation, if you are wondering what land use intensity is, like as a whole, for all the wards combined of Tirupati, we will have, say, we found out that is 20% land use is residential. But ward to ward that was differing. Say some wards had more of land use, so residential land use. So they had, say, 30% residential land use. So for that ward, residential land use intensity will become 30 by 20, which is 1.5, right, or something, right? So like that. So we did this for all the main land use categories we considered. That was residential, commercial, institutional.
So, and parallelly, we did such a similar exercise for the energy use intensity. The overall energy use for Tirupati is this. We got the power data from the APSCDCL, Andhra Pradesh Southern Power Corporation Limited. And say, so what it helped us to do is identify exactly which ward is highest energy consumer. Land use wise, right? And finally, based on optimized mix of land uses and the energy consumed, we found out ward number 23 was the highest consumer of energy. Obviously, as normal, LST has also increased. It has increased all over India in urban areas, and it was no different for Tirupati. So land surface temperature as compared to 2004 has increased quite a bit in 2024. So objective 1, where we actually analyzed the urban energy consumption at city level. So we did, and we got the data in two parts, the low tension data and high tension consumption data. The total consumption. And as I said, we used this land use intensity approach. And based on that approach and using statistical methods, all this was for the finally coming to which ward is most highly energy use intensive. Then we took on, we had to use scatter plot methods to see if our results were fine. And then we actually came to, after these first two objectives were basically for identifying that which ward is the highest energy consumer. Ward 23, we had finalized that, and then we went into Ward 23 in detail. We took 3 zones in Ward 23, and because it's not possible to do all across Ward 23, we have limitations, we have time issues in such projects. And Ward 23, we took 3 different types of zones. One which is predominantly residential, one which is a mix of residential and commercial, and one which also had institutional along with residential and commercial. So this was Ward 23, some real-time images, and so zone 1, which was 100% residential almost, zone 2, which was a mix, and zone 3, which was a low density area. Density wise also they were changing. One was high density, one was medium density, and one was actually low density. So these were the parameters. As I was talking at the start of the presentation, these are 8 important parameters set back. And again, this has its limitations, this study. There are other parameters that could have been involved, but due to certain limitations, we could not. But setbacks, the number of residents, the floor area ratio. Floor area ratio concept is not there in Andhra Pradesh actually. They have more of ground coverage. But we worked out of FAR also based on their road widths. Based on the road widths, your front setback is always decided and the building height is decided. Use of air conditioners, of course, in an energy study that has to be very, very important. The total built up area, the surface treatment, because the moment you give albedo paints or reflective paints, it becomes much more reflective. Obviously, the energy consumption reduces from the envelope. Surface treatment, aspect ratio, as I said, the plot aspect ratio, the plot width to the plot depth, then the height of the buildings and the land use typology. So these were the things. So some of them were building design parameters, as is color coded. Some of them were occupancy and usage parameters, and some of them were land use parameters. So if you look at the parameters, what we basically found out is that, and why we took them. So energy consumption, the amount of energy used in building during a given period of time. This was our core metric. Setbacks, obviously that's why setbacks are given, to give enough access to sunlight, ventilation, and FAR ratio. Higher FAR obviously means larger or taller buildings and higher occupancy, which can lead to higher energy demands. Number of residents, obviously the more, maybe energy consumption will be more. We had to find out in the research. The total built up area, about the green buffers given, because lesser the green buffers become, as is happening in urban scenarios, it becomes more of heat sinks. The more of paved areas we have, it becomes more of heat sinks, and the surrounding areas also get heated up due to those heat sinks happening. Land use type, different land uses have distinct energy use profiles. So these were the thematic maps for the zone 1, building heights, and we had numbered all the buildings. We had because we have also used a software, City Energy Analyst, software developed by ETH Zurich, and building heights along with the primary surveys, the plot aspect ratios. So we had aspect ratios which ranged from 0.5 to 3.3. So 3.3 is a very higher site. That means either it's a very long site, long and narrow site, or either ways, or a very wide, and so one of the A is off, right? So actually the ideal range was 1.6 to 2. So a lot of them were crossing that threshold. And similarly, in number of residents also, there was a variation. So we organized it as per that, those thematic maps, and through appropriate keys. Building footprints. Again, some of the plots exhibited a very high ground coverage of 0.75. So, which were not always very conducive to energy conservation. And then we had the setbacks. Minimum setbacks were in general maintained. They were, as it is, very lax standards, so it was in general maintained. And the floor area ratios were mostly uniform. So these thematic maps based on energy consumption, all the parameters had thematic maps obviously developed. The air conditioner usage, some reportedly very high, some moderate. And then the surface treatment, so non-reflective walls and non-reflective roofs. And then there was a lot of them surprisingly had reflected walls and reflective roofs, which helped the cause for lower energy consumption. So similarly for zone 2, similar thematic maps were developed. Similarly for zone 3 also, similar thematic maps were developed. And then we correlated, firstly with each of those parameters with the energy consumption. And then we combined and correlated to try to achieve that equation, which can help urban planners to actually see that within the ambits of the zonal regulations, if they change or modulate the values of the independent variables, how they can control the dependent variable, which is energy consumption at the neighborhood scale or an urban scale. So all these separately, they were correlated with respect to energy, all the 8 parameters. We had used SPSS for this. And we developed individual regression equations. And for each of the zones. And then we also took it to city energy analysis because they wanted projectivized interventions. The municipality, other than long-term goals, also wanted us to projectivize interventions. And the 2 projectivized interventions that we thought we would do were that, one, detail out how much of solar potential Tirupati's identified wards were losing out on. How much they could be covered with solar panels, they were not. And secondly, we also worked out schematically how a district cooling plant will help out in reducing energy and whether it's feasible. Because in nearby Amravati, district cooling plants are being used very, very successfully. They are planned to be used and they have been approved. So we had buildings, terrains. This is the workflow of city energy analyst, which basically gives the building energy demand in very nice terms, and also the solar irradiation levels, and also the solar PV potential. How much is the maximized photovoltaic potential of a building? So we simulated the zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3 by taking over the GIS maps to city energy analyst software. And we got energy end-use graphs, which showed some variations, but were mostly for all the zones we did it, the cooling and energy graphs, and solar irradiation levels. You will obviously find that the rooftops are where it is most highest. So as expected, if you can tap that solar irradiation levels, which are very high on the rooftops, it can actually solve a lot of the energy issues, which was not being done. Statistically also we did surveys and proved that, so we will be showing that as well. The PV potential graphs as generated by CEA, electricity end-use graphs, cooling and energy graphs. Again, so similarly for all zones we have done, 3 zones. Again, the same similar results. So interpretations of what we did. High cooling shear indicates strong dependence on mechanical conditioning and dense mid-rise morphology and limited shading. Shading again was limited. It could have been much more enhanced, and dense mid-rise morphology was there. Compact urban form has means higher floor utilization but reduced natural ventilation and shading. Taller mid-rise RCC structures contribute to higher cooling loads, of course. That's where materials like bamboo are so much better. So their cooling loads will be much, much lesser, but concrete is one of the highest cooling loads. Solar potential, as we found out, there was very good potential, but it was not being captured at all. Energy demands, again for zone 2, we did the similar results, but there was some differences because of the nature. And then solar potential, high feasibility for decentralized solar adoption, solar potential, solar generation was there, but it was not being tapped into. So coming to the project-wise interventions, as I was telling, we saw that there was very limited rooftop areas which were actually covered with solar panels, whereas we could actually have a lot more. And it is also as per the AP regulations, energy regulations, that you can actually go up to 30% of the rooftop area for solar potentials. So it was hugely untapped, and when we actually presented our findings in the municipal corporation dissemination workshop, local dissemination workshop, they fully agreed, and they actually mentioned to maximize it. And one more project-wise intervention, because Amrut categorically said that you can't only say vague things and do research like any other PhD or any of the research reports that all the institutions are making. You have to give project-wise interventions. That's why we also suggested a district cooling plant for the institutional area. And we worked out the location of the sites. We worked out, it was thumb rule calculations only. And for that matter, district cooling plants are a very important part of the future. Bureau of Energy Efficiency, B, has now mandated it that building bylaws should include district-specific, district cooling-specific norms, and that it should be for the high-density greenfield, future greenfield developments, and that it should also be integrated into the future master planning process. And GIFT City is one example where district cooling plant is very successfully running. And even Amravati is one other example where hopefully it is going to come up. They have extensive plans in the greenfield main area of the Amravati, which has been the master plan of which has been done by Norman Foster and Associates, to bring in district cooling plants. So some thumb rule calculations. And we actually found out that a very less amount of area is required. We hardly require 1.35 hectares of land, which we actually identified also. It was there. So like if you see here, zone 2, zone 1, there were some vacant area lands which we identified to allow for the district cooling plant to come up, where approximately 1.35 hectares could be met with. So, and the potential interventions in zoning regulations. The optimized land use mix always helps. So, we worked out a land use mix for Tirupati based on our study areas as to how. And then we suggested some other specific aspects like plot aspect ratios being restricted to 2.5. Good maximizing PV potential. And as per the Andhra Pradesh Electricity Regulatory Commission guidelines, And then some changes in the setbacks and the heights, right? So by increasing the front setbacks and so that from the builder point of view, there is no issue. We are allowing for the increase in the building height by 1 floor and where future road widening options exist so that they don't conflict with the bylaws at a later date. So we worked those out, permutations and combinations, and worked how they would work out, increasing the setbacks. And then there are plots which are over a certain area, 500 square meters and 750 square meters, where we can do it more easily, increase the setbacks. And then they have the Andhra Pradesh Geo norms, government order norms 119 has these rules about mandatory setbacks for green buffers for group housing, which we also propose to increase from the existing 1 meter to 2 meters. Without compromising on the real estate value by increasing the height, permissible height. And we also worked out all these cases simplistically. The key energy efficiency concerns and how the proposed, what is the regulation clause, what are the measurable targets, and what are the implementations and incentives that can be given. So, in line with the ECBC and the ESBC. So these are the standard site level interventions, the building level interventions, of which a few we considered, some we could not consider in our research. And the potential incentives, which were that incentives will always come from the extra FSI to be given, transferable development rights, and also energy service companies, ESCOs, which can help building owners develop and finance energy saving projects frequently by paying for the energy upgrades, and green TDRs, because the transferable development rights can be also, a new category can be brought out, which will be green TDRs, where development rights could be generated by the landowners who install renewable energy sectors to implement energy saving features. So, I mean, it can be increased to even 5 to 7.5 to 10% in addition to the existing FSI can be given. So these will help in the long run for promoters and developers to also target it. So let's not, however, forget, as in line with the previous presentation also, that the actual sustainable materials still remain, earth, bamboo, and it's not that our building manuals don't consider it. HUDCO, BMTPC, Building Material and Technology Promotion Council, CBRI, CSIR, CPW can jointly formulate unified guidelines. And truly sustainable materials like earth, bamboo, stones in the hilly areas, they are very good energy efficient material also because they have good thermal mass, good thermal capacity. Don't let the outside cold come in. They can resist for a long time. And I also some snapshots of the district cooling plant layout here. One of them is, I had the good luck to visit Gift City, and very impressive district cooling plant. European cities have taken it up in a big way. A lot of softwares are available for energy simulations at building and city level nowadays. And as well, I've requested your HOD, madam, as well as Dr. Aviroop, your faculty. This is a book, Housing, Climate and Comfort, that I had written in 2021. So it's Otto Koenigsberger's book on tropical architecture, Manual of Tropical Architecture. It becomes a bit difficult to grasp for third or fourth semester students. So if you can, I've been teaching climate and built form for a long time now, as well as energy efficient architecture. And I realized it had to be written simpler way for, say, second year students, BR students to grasp. So that's how I had written this book, and if possible, I'd request the academicians to buy it here. So thank you, and I'm open to questions. And I'll end with one of the things that today's generation has is they are good at software. Software is both good and bad. But if you can use it in the correct way, it can help you a long way, but don't be slaves to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Architect John Mujay Gupta for that comprehensive presentation of the live research that was done by the your institution, and where things need to be looked at from macro scale as well. And so now we have heard from both our speakers, where one directly from the site level interventions and another one from the academic and the research point of view, and how they complement each other. They're really two sides of the same coin, where we are looking at the materials and how we can constantly innovate materials with the same, in different contexts, and how he has brought in artisans from different places and accelerating some of the better practices in different geographical zones, but still maintaining the context. And then here, Architect Gupta had shown us how in the existing development, how we can identify where is a gap and where there can be interventions done, and then give possible interventions to ensure that we are moving towards a sustainable development, even when there are high density developments that is in the urban scenarios. We would like to take questions from the audience, if anyone has, please. And we strongly encourage, yeah.
Hello. My question is to Architect Gupta. So I am a student of SNU from third year. I'm in Takab. So my question is, you have used a lot of softwares to analyze the one software made by ETH Zurich. Okay. So does that software works on global standard, or it is optimized for our Indian cities?
It is optimized because you actually upload the EPW file of the particular city, right? So we have EPW files now available for all cities of India, for all major cities. Huh? So what we did was we uploaded the EPW file of Tirupati. So that's satellite-based data of, say, last 10 years of Tirupati, right? So we'll find similar EPW files of Kolkata, every city, right? A lot of cities, even smaller cities, right? So it works on Indian standards because it's actually the climate files of Indian cities.
Yeah, actually, I worked on Rhino Grasshopper optimization, Ladybug tool. So I am aware of EPW files.
Yes, yes.
So my second question is, you use some permutation and combination to optimize or increase the land use. So
no, not permutation combination. Through a regression equation we developed, right? So we did correlation. Like there are 7 parameters, independent parameters, and the dependent variable is energy consumption. So we correlated each of those independent variables with the energy consumption, and then, as is the process, we combined all of those individual correlations to form one single multiple regression equation. That is known as the regression model. Many of you, many of your faculty also who have done the PhDs will know it. Into a regression model where after combining all the 7 parameters and how they correlate with the energy consumption, we are coming up with a single individual regression model which will show the planners the guidelines to that how increase or decrease of one of the parameters within the allowable zoning regulation limits, and that's why we suggested a few minor changes in the zoning regulation limits also, how it will impact the energy consumption. So permutation combination is not exactly the correct term. We did not do permutation and combination. We did individual correlations of all the 7 parameters and then formed a model regression equation, multiple models.
So does this calculation did by manual or computationally?
It is by SPSS. SPSS.
Okay.
SPSS. SPSS software is there, which makes statistical calculations very easy. So we did it in SPSS software. We have a licensed version of SPSS in our lab, so we did it by SPSS. SPSS full form is something like statistical programming. Okay, right?
Thank you, sir. My next question is to Architect Lauren.
Thank you.
Sir, does your design only cater the rural scenario, or you can apply those methods to in an urban scale?
Thank you for the question, because this is what I am most interested actually. Cities have problems of a much higher magnitude than rural areas. And so 2 years ago, with my associate architect Modit Rakecha, we completed a factory in near Bardaman. So it's a rural area, that's true, but the building somehow is urban. It's a reinforced concrete frame building, 4 stories. And we use a shallow dome systematically. We do not have we have a concrete slab in the entire 4-story building, only in one place, in the lift machine room. Otherwise, everywhere else, we use these shallow domes from Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. And 2 features of the building we utilized, which are textbook bioclimatic features. One is, it is elongated in the east-west direction. So we just traced east-west line and took the location of the plot where this line was the longest. Then we divided by the floor area that we needed, and we found the width of the building. So the building is only 12 meters wide and 60 meters long and 4-storied, so that we minimize the exposure to the east and west, which are when the sun rises and sun sets. So the 3 in the tropical areas where the sun is mostly vertical, the 3 surface areas which are most subjected to intense heat are the east, the west, and the roof. East in the morning, roof in midday, and west in the evening. And the south and north, you can keep them completely open. So the south and north are mostly glazed. And we had a hard time convincing the client that glass is not necessarily bad. He had this idea that brick is eco-friendly and glass is not eco-friendly. You need natural light, you need to protect from the rain, so you need glass. And so the facade is fully glazed, almost fully glazed on the south, but it is very well protected from the heat because we have a 2-foot projection at every floor level made of black stone, which is a traditional feature in almost everywhere in the world. You had this projection, self-shading.
Vertical fins as well?
No vertical fins. Horizontal projection. Vertical fins are a modern feature, and I don't believe in them, but horizontal projection works very well, and they are underutilized. We have this. You look, all our modern buildings, they are smooth. The facade is totally smooth. We have some elevation features, but nobody does anymore these horizontal projections. So we did this projection only 2 feet at every floor level, and the EPI, the energy performance index of this building is 142. It is a factory. It is a factory, you have many machines. And interestingly, the energy consumption is not correlated with the temperature, which is totally different from the housing. If you see the electricity bill in housing in Kolkata, you will see it varies. CESC bills are very good because you can see the graph of the consumption. You can see it's low in winter and it's high in summer. In this factory, it's opposite because there is more production in winter. So we have totally decoupled from the temperature, and this is an underutilized feature, this projection. So yes, urban area is where we have to work. You young generation, you have to work. It's quite easy to make a mud and thatch resort for for a 5-star hotel somewhere. But the challenge is how to make our cities actually green and using natural materials.
Yeah, thank you, sir. You said the method. We can see the same method in the Diamond Boards building designed by morphogenesis. They glaze the north and south wall and build solid wall to the east and west. Thank you, sir.
Just one small thing I'd like to add. ECBC will actually, they have capped the window wall ratio to on no walls should it be more than 40%. And because ECBC may become aligned with development control regulations fully in the future, it has already become in some states, the care should be taken that it doesn't exceed 40%, the window to wall ratio.
What is the reason? Why?
To reduce the energy consumption.
Why? How?
Because the U value, the thermal transmittance of glass is always more, right? So
Another very important issue is insulation. We are talking about insulation. Insulation has a meaning only if the building is air conditioned. Insulation means you slow the heat transmission. So insulation has a meaning if you have a difference of temperature. Now in a building, you have activities, people are living, breathing, we are creating heat, we are cooking, we have machines, we have lights, all sorts of things are creating heat. Okay, so in a building which is not air conditioned, you have to allow this heat to go out. Insulation is counterproductive. Insulation is not necessarily a good thing everywhere. Now, if your building is air conditioned, then you need insulation to reduce your energy consumption. So there is a basic difference whether your building is air conditioned or not regarding insulation. And all this talk about insulation, it's actually a way to push for air conditioning buildings. Now, in our factory in Bardaman, we have air conditioning, we have a few window ACs in some of the workshops because it's a high-level garment factory and they cannot have even one drop of sweat on the cloth, otherwise it's discarded. So you have some times, very interestingly, they did not use it in April where it's hottest. They use it when you have insects outside and you have to close the windows because you cannot have insects coming inside. And also during the monsoon when it's moisture is too high, then they use the AC. So AC should be conceived like, you see, for example, suppose you have a bottle of whiskey somewhere in your flat, you keep it for your guest. It does not mean that you are allowed to drink 1 glass per day of whiskey. You know, keep the AC like that as a luxury. You can enjoy sometime, you receive your friend, you switch on the AC and get cooled. That's fine. But you don't think that you should allow a certain level of AC. Normally, we should just eliminate.
Thank you so much, Lawrence sir and Architect Gupta sir.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay. I think you can hear me. My question is basically at a micro level, you say that it's a factory building. So is a total there are 4 floors?
Yes.
So there are multiple floors then?
Yes.
Must be. Okay. And there is a 12-meter span.
Yes.
So you have achieved the span with the bamboo?
No. It is
without any?
No. This factory is made of a reinforced concrete frame.
Okay.
There is no bamboo in the factory building. We use bamboo in the canteen. It's a separate building.
Okay.
But in
this is a concrete building.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I understand. Now, another question that the student was asking, basically, you said that very rightly pointed out that it should be aligned north, basically the minimal portion should be on the east and the west. Yes. But under the, basically in the urban sphere, we do not have the choice. You can understand. Absolutely. Another thing, I'm asking you, both of you, sir, that don't you feel that our guidelines, basically the building rules, bylaws, have a direct impact with the climate control things?
They have, sir, but what they specify is not always directly linked with climate control. That's why our zoning regulations are now bringing in ECBC considerations into it, which have a more direct link with climate control and lower energy consumption. Like, very fast, if I say the main things, the ECBC does say about the optimized orientation. ECBC does say about the optimized window wall ratio, which, as much as we debate, actually has been found that if it crosses a certain threshold, the energy consumption becomes too much. Glass, because it can capture too much of heat. And then ECBC also has certain things which relate to the services component. So ECBC has certain prescriptive and mandatory requirements which are now being linked into the bylaws. What our bylaws were initially conceptualized when it was done was more on lines of NBC, like chapter 8 of NBC about ventilation and natural light. So that the minimum amount of natural light comes into our homes, which were at that time more of naturally ventilated, and a minimum amount of ventilation comes into our homes. But
don't you feel that in our tropical climate, height is definitely a factor which may ward off the heat? Because that is also one of the factors. Because of the height limitations, we wanted to put in as much as floors possible within that restricted height. And what happens ultimately? Then people go in for a false ceiling, say, to hide the beams and the structural members. Then the height again comes down to an effective height of 9 feet, say, and ultimately lands up with putting on ACs.
Yes, yes. Height does help, and even mutual shading helps, where you have mutual shading is very much overlooked, where you have slightly cantilevered balconies. That will help. That's a simple thing, very achievable.
If you move around to the basically the traditional buildings that
Yes,
we
like
used to have,
Jaipur.
you will see greater ceiling heights,
Right, sir.
with two-fold windows even.
Yes,
I
yes,
understand that today the cost of wood is has gone sky high. I understand it's not possible, but maybe we can come up with some solutions of double encladding of the windows also. That is going to help the insulation.
Yes, that was what was done in, if you look at traditional knowledge system, Jaisalmer houses, they have all those features, jharokhas, jalis, which are natural shading features, natural climate responsive features, and lowering the energy consumption as well. Lot of mutual shading. Jaisalmer streets are such that they are mutually shaded by the buildings.
I would like to say something about height. You just mentioned Jaisalmer. In the Royal Palace of Jaisalmer, if you extend your hand, you can touch the ceiling. In the palace of the ancient kingdom of Travancore, the palace of Padmapuram Palace, yes, you go in where the king with the ministers were sitting. So it was a very rich state in India at that time. I think the ceiling is here. You can just touch it. This building is absolutely comfortable, absolutely beautiful. Very interestingly, the king made a guest house for the European guests. This guest house has 15 feet high ceiling. Because, in a very nice gesture of hospitality, he felt that Europeans, they like the big heights, and he made something for them, following their style. For him, he was absolutely fine, the ruler of the kingdom, with this low ceiling. So, the idea that height is good, I think it depends. It's one of the parameters, it depends. Low height can also be good. So it's not like always a one way.
Not a low height with a RCC ceiling.
No, but low height with good ventilation.
Yeah.
With good material.
Yes, sir, I agree. But also, low height may not work in a situation where too many people are in one room.
Correct.
Because
when it is in a public building, I think height definitely helps to dissipate some of the heat. Yes, so I think the context becomes very important in whichever material or a system that we are trying to, adapt to. And while Sir brought up about including things in policy about height, I would like to actually bring a question to you regarding the materials, like where we are talking about earth, bamboo, and stones in urban areas in many cities. They are not allowed by the bylaws to use as a building material, which itself is contradictory to when we are saying climate responsive, climate responsive. And if somebody, even though nowadays many people are actually shying away already from the cities to use these natural materials, even for people who want to use it, it's a hindrance. They are unable to use it. They are pushed to the rural area to use it because it doesn't fall within the bylaws. So I think where academic researchers are working and to work with the ULBs and the policymakers to ensure that at least those who are wanting to build with the natural materials, they should have the option to build it.
Yes.
And that is a huge drawback we have in our
Right.
so-called framework we have created. Right,
So BMTPC is doing some things regarding this, Building Material and Technology Promotion Council and HUDCO. And they have a list of materials which can be climate responsive and sustainable with low embodied energy. And fly ash bricks is one such materials which fits into the urban context very well, and it has a lower U value, thermal transmittance value, fly ash bricks, and then also aerated autoclaved concrete blocks. AAC blocks are quite a good solution for.
But they're all still industrial products.
They are all industrial products.
That is the whole point. If somebody wants to use a material that is available to them,
I'll
they are unable to use
right.
it. And we are not facilitating
one approach
it.
that people are taking with earth is stabilizing earth with again an industrial product, cement. But it is not that earth architecture is not happening in areas of Bangalore and in areas of Delhi also. Earth architecture is happening. Two of the prominent architects of India who are doing it is one is Revati Kamath's firm, and
Architect Chitra Vishwanath is also, they're also doing, but within the cities, in many cities,
Yes,
it is still a huge...
and we don't also have very clear codal provisions, as you were mentioning, for mud and bamboo.
Yes, so, and that is deterring people from, as it is, they have to go through a lot of process of getting permits and things like that, and they say, oh, because of this material, they're delaying, so let's just go with the conventional or the material that is, which is, yes, so, but I think more... Exactly.
Do anything experimental with them. We are bounded by the law.
So, extending the discussion, I just have one small, extending the discussion on materials, is bamboo considered a permanent building material or a temporary building material?
It depends,
There is nothing
depends to
permanent in
whom
this
you
world.
ask the question.
Exactly.
Question is for me. Oh. So, okay, for me personally, it is not as durable as wood, for example. It's more sensitive. So, for example, for this 3-story school building that we are doing in Barasat, I told them that we will not have any bathroom in the upper floor. We will not have any plumbing in the upper floor. Means the kitchen, the bathroom, everything will be in the ground floor where we have IPS flooring and we can have water. And because, once a client of Frank Lloyd Wright complained that the roof was leaking. And this client was, Frank Lloyd Wright sometimes was a bit extreme, so he replied, oh, the roof is leaking. So what? That's how you can tell it's a roof. So, no, just keep in mind, plumbing leaks. It's a definition. It's true. And you need to replace plumbing regularly in a building. So bamboo, you avoid water at any cost. And then it can last as long as, I would say, a building lasts as long as people love it. You love your building, you will maintain it. I have seen bamboo buildings which are 50 years old in a village where people have no money. But still they love their building, they still live in it. And
nowadays they are having composite lumber, bamboo.
yes,
Like lumber.
yes. So composite, very importantly, with these regulations. I did a house in Barupur which has a reinforced concrete frame. It has mud walls, except the bathroom. Bathroom have brick walls. But every other room has mud walls, wattle and daub, very thin. Just a bamboo frame plastered with mud. It is 3-storied. It has a thatch roof, and it has brick domes. So we used every material where it's most efficient. And very interestingly, local people, they call this house Korer Bari. Because they are so surprised that someone who can afford to have a concrete frame put a thatch roof. But now imagine if this house was built 100 years ago, at the beginning of reinforced concrete. People would have called the same house. They would have called it, oh, this is Dharai Bari. So, you see, the vernacular in your eyes, it's not in the object itself. So we can use composite combination of material, like that we can use in urban area without restriction. If there is a restriction on the structure, let's use concrete.
I have one question to you. In your presentation, in the self-help, when you asked the people themselves in that study, one of the solutions they came up in the cyclone-affected areas, you said, was thatched roofing. Yes. But thatch will get blown off easily, no? I mean, how was that?
Properly done thatch. Many thatch houses have resisted Amphan. I have seen Ayla, some roofs just flew away and fell on the side. They were not anchored properly. I have seen after Ayla, many houses, mud houses had melted and the roof was on the ground. So the house had become a tent. It was terrible. Ayla was absolutely terrible because of the flood. Amphan was really a very strong cyclone. I think in recent time it was the strongest that we had in West Bengal. It was 160 kilometers per hour. So this house that we built in Baripur suffered zero damage. And people were surprised. All the neighbors, they came in the morning to see what happened to the Korean Bari. And they were surprised there was no damage. But almost every neighbor, they had lost one tin sheet, one window had been blown away, some tiles had flown away, this kind of problem. No house collapsed, that's not the thing, but some structural damage to elements which we don't care so much about. So I would say a house which is built properly, regardless of the material, regardless of thatch, tin or anything, if it is built properly, it will survive the cyclone. And typical, the buildings which are most damaged generally are low-cost commercial buildings. You know, you are a trader, you want to go down, and your horizon is the next 3 years. You don't care if your go down is, you know, these are the kind of tin sheds which are blown away by cyclone because the objective is not to last long, simply.
I have a question.
Is there any patient you are adopting to make the bamboo termite resistant?
Yes. So for termite, I completely avoid chloropyrifos, this chemical. So I treat the bamboo with borax and boric acid. So this is not a very strong chemical. It's a chemical which is essentially non-toxic, non-toxic to mammals. It is toxic to insects, but not to mammals. So I mix borax and boric acid with my hands. You can put a bit on your tongue. It has the same toxicity as the common salt. So for termite in general, you have to be very consistent in your design to avoid all sorts of hidden passages through which the termite can go. So all the bamboo are resting on reinforced concrete pedestal, and I try to avoid plastering because the termite can enter in a crack between the plaster and the concrete. Be careful about the electric conduits. Termite can go into your building through the conduit. Also, if you have downpipes, keep them away from the wall. Keep a large gap. Otherwise, termites, they love to hide between the pipe and the wall. So somehow they are clever, they know where to hide. But otherwise, termites will avoid being in an exposed place where you can brush their tubes. Even birds will eat them. So if you have to think about termites from the very beginning in your design and do all the detailing accordingly. There are many methods for that.
We'll take one last question. Yes.
Yeah, one question just I wanted to ask. When you were showing your school building construction, you were using bamboo, but you mostly showed that the whole thing you have cladded with mud.
Yes.
So is that any specific choice of yours, or because why we didn't keep it like natural way? That's
yes.
what.
Yes. This is to make it fireproof because it's a school. And it was not so easy to get it accepted by the authorities. So I wanted to make it fireproof. So bamboo is totally covered. We will see a bit of bamboo in the doors and windows and in some secondary elements like the railing. but the primary structure will be entirely hidden inside mud to make it fireproof. Because a 3-story school building, you cannot be casual about fire. It's a super, super important issue. And if you have a fire in such a bamboo building, then everyone will start criticizing bamboo. So there is no point, taking such risk.
Okay, so additional to that then, generally we read some of the things that we can do engineered bamboo also to match the look and all for fireproof. So why are we not using that in this case?
No, so engineered bamboo, it means it is bamboo fibers are glued together. So yes, it can resist fire in the sense it has a very high mass. It's very expensive. The Chinese are making multi-story building with extremely massive beams and columns. These are very expensive solutions. I prefer to focus on round bamboo as it is available, cover with mud, which is also available and low cost. Yes, I am not a big fan of engineered bamboo. But that's okay. I know the Chinese are doing it, and basically you work with the mass. It's like a big piece of wood will resist fire very well because it will take hours and hours to burn. And so this massive engineered bamboo works on the same principle.
Yeah, just to solve this, I think Arunachal Apatani place is working on this. They have worked, they are almost competing with Chinese bamboo. So we are, I had an opportunity to visit there. They are trying to explore this. What 2 points you highlighted, that the quantity and the fire, both the things they are working. So I think what we are saying now, just because of fire we are cladding it, it's no more required, I think. So this is just, I have a very little knowledge.
Cost
if
factor
you can,
probably is also an issue.
Yeah, so
Cost
if you
fact,
can
like
highlight
said,
later
these
on.
are available material right there at the site or
yes,
in the vicinity.
this school building we are making.
Maybe what you're suggesting is still in the research level. So by the time it becomes a viable product, then probably it is economically feasible for people to adapt that in a larger building probably. So
And we are making this school for a cost of 1,700 rupees per square foot.
Yeah,
all
so
included.
the cost will
So
be
this
a
is actually
limitation.
very, very reasonable cost.
yes, so.
And
This is where you can address a much larger segment.
okay, yeah. And what about the spider web? Because it's a very common problem for whenever we are working on bamboo construction, we are facing like the maintenance because of that spider web. So what, is there
like he
any remedy you have already explored?
See, sometimes I have spider web in my office, in my home.
No,
Instead
that
of
is there,
concrete. I
but-
just brush it. I mean, I don't know.
I think
So
like
that
he
is the
said-
only thing. Any
Yeah.
chemical or anything
are
you
you
suggest?
sure bamboo is more inviting spider? I don't.
I think
don't know.
maintenance,
I'm
like
not
he
aware.
said, if there are people using it and loving it and they maintain it, I don't think that is a huge issue. Yeah. So
Is there any solution or liquid or anything or any
Personally, I totally avoid these chemicals.
Okay. Okay, that is what was the question.
Yes, yes. So borax and boric acid are okay. These are very, very low toxicity chemical. They are not toxic to mammals. I use oil. I avoid the synthetic pesticides. And if there is a spider web, you brush it away. It's and spider web happen everywhere in any building, even concrete building. You have, I don't think bamboo is inviting spider more than concrete.
thank you so
Okay,
much. If
thank you.
anybody has any more questions, you can approach the speakers after the session. And thank you so much for being patient and answering all the questions from the audience and us. And
Thank you for the interesting questions. Thank you.
yes, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. And I think now, since we have seen both the sides, it's working together and complementing each other will help in building the sustainable development and the expansion that we are talking about. And with that, I would like to close this session. Thank you, everyone, for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, respected speakers. So we have come to the end of session 1. After this, we are going to disperse for lunch. So we'll have a 45-minute lunch break. And we expect all the people to assemble again by 2:45. So your lunch is served in the 8th floor, room number 802. In the meantime, all the respected dignitaries who have come later, I request you all to visit our exhibition as well. Our student work has been displayed behind the auditorium. And yeah, that's for now. We'll meet again at 2:45.